Welcome to another episode of the Theater Podcast, intimate personal conversations with theater's biggest names. I'm your host, Alan Seals.
And I'm your producer, Jillian Hockman.
I just ate Bojangles, everybody.
No one knows what that is. If you know what that is, please email us.
How do you... I'm sure
Feedback at thetheaterpodcast.com.
Most people know what Bojangles is.
I didn't know what Bojangles was until I met you.
All right, it's so good. Thank you for bringing it to me. This is intimate personal conversations with theater's biggest names. Did I already say that?
You did. You're so excited. Why are you so excited? Who did we talk to?
We just talked to the amazing director-choreographer Casey Nicholaw, who was just nominated for Best Direction of a Musical in the Prom, which was itself nominated for 7 2019 Tony Awards.
Yeah.
The dude was just incredible, but it was, if you listen to it, it was hard for me to get him to talk about himself. He's so humble.
He's very humble. He's very much someone who just likes to do what he does and does best. And the other stuff that surrounds it kind of, I don't even think occurs to him.
Yeah.
At one point, you asked him if he gets recognized. He's like, yeah, but I don't know why.
Because you're good, man. It was incredible to me that he said he still has pinch me moments. One of his favorite of which was doing the voiceover on South Park, which is
that's a big deal.
That's a bucket list thing for me as well. But I mean, God, like you said, he doesn't know why he gets so nominated or whatever. But everything he's done on Broadway has earned 62 total Tony Award nominations with 14 wins.
Just a couple here and there.
Like, this guy is incredible. Everything he does is incredible. And in another conversation we had with some of the ensemble members, I mean, they even mentioned that one of his skills is putting together people that just work. Mm-hmm. And they not only fit the role, not only can they sing, but they work together. They elevate the story. They elevate their relationships. Yeah. Like, he just knows who's going to work together.
He started off as a performer, so he understands that dynamic, and he understands what it takes to be a performer on a Broadway show. So I think he comes with that perspective, and it makes his choices, both artistically and in terms of who he casts, more cohesive. He knows people's limits, and he knows what they can and can't do, and he knows how to make something really, really good.
Mm-hmm. There was something that now that he said it is painfully obvious to me that I've never thought about beforehand. But once the show is open, the director's work is not done. Mm-hmm. I always assumed that you just walk away and you take your paycheck and that's it. But we were talking about in the episode, you go back and you check in and you make sure that the cast stays close to the original intent, and you do brush ups. And for him, it's, he works with on the directing side and the choreographing side. So he's got double duty, and he's got 4 shows concurrently running on Broadway: Aladdin, Book of Mormon, Mean Girls, and now the Prom. So he's got quadruple duty of going back and doing all of this work. And I don't know how he sleeps. I don't know how he sleeps. So it was an incredible conversation. Everyone, please enjoy this episode with Casey Nicholaw.
Here you go. 1, 2, 3.
This Tony Award-winning director, choreographer, and actor began his Broadway career as a performer in 1992 in the original cast of Crazy for You, before going on to perform in shows such as Victor Victoria, The Scarlet Pimpernel, Saturday Night Fever, Seussical, and Thoroughly Modern Millie. He's either directed, choreographed, or directed and choreographed many iconic shows such as Spamalot, Drowsy Chaperone, Elf, Book of Mormon, Aladdin, Something Rotten, and Mean Girls. He's received 11 Tony nominations, 6 Drama Desk Award nominations, and 6 Outer Critics Circle Award nominations. His latest show to open up on Broadway, The Prom, just netted him his latest Tony nomination for Best Direction of a Musical. Casey Nicholaw, welcome to the Theater Podcast.
Thank you.
I hope I did you justice with that.
That was a lot to take in, but yeah, it's great.
It was a lot. Well, you've kind of done a lot.
That's great.
And congrats on the nominations for the Prom. Seven nominations this year for 2019, including Best Musical.
Yeah.
So that must be very pleasing. I know this is a passion project for you in a way, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Since the beginning, we didn't really know what we had, but we loved it and we knew we loved working on it. So it was fantastic.
Well, tell me about that. Why is this so unique? Why was this project unique compared to the other ones that you've done?
Well, first of all, it's original, so it was just an idea that was brought to us by Jack Fertel, who's artistic director at Encores. And he called me up and he said, you know what? I have this really weird idea for a musical. Do you have any interest in the idea of two girls that can't go to their prom, and then maybe it starts in Barson Trolley with like celebrity types who are Broadway stars who feel like they've sort of had it and they need more with their lives, and they go down there and they decide to help the girls and make it worse. I said, sure, sign me up.
Well, then that was 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in between starting that and now opening on Broadway, you like originated and put Mean Girls out.
Yeah, I mean, really, it was right after Book of Mormon that we had the idea for this.
Yeah, and
so since then was Aladdin and Something Rotten and Tuck Everlasting and Mean Girls.
So you kept coming back to this, and we'll definitely talk about the prom a lot because I have so many questions. But I want to start. Normally on the podcast here, we start with the beginnings of who you are and where you came from. So tell me about like you were born in California, yeah?
Yeah, I was born in Santa Monica, but grew up in San Diego.
And so you're out in California, and then where did the performing come from? Where did your love for theater come from?
I loved theater before I started performing. I just was such a complete geek about movie musicals. And then when I was in 8th grade, I had a friend who said, I'm in this thing called junior theater, and I think that you would really love it. And I auditioned and was a dancing Indian in Annie Get Your Gun, and I was sold.
So that was in 8th grade.
8th grade.
Yeah. Did your parents encourage that, or were they like, it's a phase, you'll grow out of it?
No, they actually encouraged me, which is weird because they weren't really theater types at all.
Really?
Yeah.
What do they do, or did they do?
My mom worked as a secretary, and my dad did all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah, so I guess this was all new for them.
It was, but they were very supportive.
So then what happened next? Did you go to school for theater?
No, I went to UCLA as a theater major, but I lasted like a year and a quarter and decided to move to New York.
Oh, so did you ever finish school?
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you moved to New York. What year was that?
1982.
82.
No. 1982. February 1982.
Okay. So 82, you came here. And what were you wanted to perform. You wanted to be an actor, yeah?
Yeah. I had saved up my money in my freshman year in college and came to New York on vacation and just decided to go see shows. And then while I was here, I decided I'd audition for some shows, and I auditioned for summer stock a few places and got a job at New London Barn Playhouse in New Hampshire.
Oh, wow.
And we did 10 shows. We cleaned the toilets. We made breakfast. We built all the sets and costumes. I was in the shows. And it was like the best summer of my life.
And so where did the dancing come from, the dance training?
Well, when I was in San Diego Junior Theater, we also took, they had classes for us on Saturdays. And so we took dance class every Saturday. I just knew I loved it. And then when I got to New York, I just took class like crazy. Mm-hmm. So I was late to dancing. It wasn't like I grew up and went to dance school.
Well, that's incredible. I'd assumed that dancing was your primary study.
Well, it actually was. Musical theater was my life, but dancing when I got to New York was my primary study. I was, I knew I wanted to sing, dance, act, but I was taking like 3 or 4 dance classes a day when I got to New York.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That sounds tiring.
Yeah, it was. It sounds tiring to me now. That's for sure.
And then the singing, I guess, like singing lessons.
I took singing classes, acting classes, voice teachers, voice coaching, all of it.
Wow. Yeah. So you went all in immersive. I mean, it's like
pretty much.
Like
because as in college as a theater major, I wasn't allowed to take voice and dance, which sort of made no sense to me, which is why I didn't stay in college.
Oh yeah, now that's ridiculous. You kind of have to do everything. I mean, you need to learn like the fundamentals of acting. But
absolutely,
yeah, of course, you got to take it all. Do you have a particular genre or acting between acting, singing, and dancing? Do you have something you like the most?
Directing.
Okay. Directing actors, singers, or dancers?
No, all of it. But I mean, the choreography is my biggest passion to start with. I love telling stories through dance. Yeah. So there's something about a dancer that I absolutely love.
Yeah, I was reading up to prepare for this, and there was something you said about the dancing in the prom and the ensemble. And this is my own take on it, but the ensemble to me feels like it is own kind of like always changing character. And the ensemble's there. The ensemble helps, but they're never secondary.
Right.
And they're always there to push the story along. And the style, I noticed this, that the style of the main characters, the older actors, is more traditional, more old school Broadway, and then all the ensemble, which, by the way, 13 of them made their Broadway debuts.
Yeah, absolutely cool.
So these young, amazing, energetic kids with energy pouring out of their fingertips.
Right.
It's all hip hop. It's based in hip hop.
It is. It's all based in hip hop for sure.
Yeah. So was that a conscious effort to
because kids aren't going to dance in musical comedy style right now. So that's what that was. So I researched, I watched stuff, I tried to get our own vocabulary going with that.
Wow. And what did you do to research? What's your style? You said you started in tap, yeah?
Yeah, mostly tap and traditional Broadway, but it's fun and actually tap wasn't the rhythms in tap aren't far from the rhythms in hip hop. And that's kind of how I approached it. Because at first it was daunting to me because I thought, oh my gosh, that's not in my wheelhouse, But then I started really loving it and having a great time doing it.
Well, did you decide to pull in the hip hop or?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Well, I guess so. Walk me through the original creation of the story and the whole concept, because you're talking about Jack. Jack had the concept. Brought you the. I guess he brought you the story, the idea, and then what happened?
And then, we also brought on board. That's when we brought on board Bob Martin and Chad Baglin and Matt Sklar, and then the four of us just started working on it and trying to figure out what the story was. We didn't really know everything that was going to happen in the show. Mm-hmm. We knew nothing that was going to happen in the show except for the idea about two girls, not being able to go to their prom, and then also the idea of the fake prom.
Right. Okay. Well, what does working on it mean? Like you guys have some shots and go in someone's apartment and start banging out some tunes?
Well, really it starts with the outline of what the plot was going to be. And then when we got the outline of the story, Bob and Chad, started working on it, and we all just kept brainstorming and figuring out what it was and where do we want Act 1 to end and how do we want Act 2 to end and what do we want in the middle and what do we want the story to be. And then and then the songs start getting written as with the different song spotting and stuff.
Yeah, that's so cool to me. Like I've talked to a couple different creatives on the podcast, and everyone's kind of got a different take on it. Like I think it was Tom Kidd who was saying that next to normal, they wrote a bunch of songs, and they're like, I guess we should just put a story to connect.
Oh, really?
The songs.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
I love Next to Normal. My gosh.
So at what point? I mean, I guess this is probably obviously not the first time that you've created something and worked on a story. At what point are you like, all right, we're going to continue, or this isn't working, let's scrap it?
Well, I don't think I've ever done anything where I've said this is not working, let's scrap it. Yeah. Well, no, I have. But we believed in this one from the beginning, and we thought it has something in there, and especially because it's original. You just keep changing it. If something's not working, you change what it's going to be, and you change the story, and you get to change the songs, and you get to change characters and all of that.
So you just kept going. And then at what point do you bring in producers? At what point does the money become important?
Well, Dory and Bill came aboard pretty early.
Really?
Yeah. So that they were part of the outline and everything else too before anything was written.
Oh, they were contributing to the story a little bit?
Well, we were running things by them to see what they thought, and making sure they thought we were going in the right direction.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Yeah, the creative side and the putting something together is all very new to me. As an old performer. Well, I used to perform, and I'm a little bit old, but yes. It's always just been like, all right, here's your sides, come in and do this, and then the creative team's already together. But the creative side is so fascinating to me because it's like I said, it's a different story, and everyone wants to is involved and gets excited for different reasons. And for you, like you said, this is a story, and I believe it has a lot of heart. The story,
so much,
tons of heart,
so much. I mean, we knew we wanted it to be funny, but also when you look at what the story is going to be, and you look at two people not able to be who they are and go to the prom, which is something that everybody gets to do. It was easy to sort of figure out where the heart was going to be.
Yeah. Well, you're actually, I pulled a quote here from
shoot.
not from you, from a Playbill.com article. Playbill.com article said people are now saying that you have, quote, galvanized the modern form of classical musical comedy. The 9 musical comedies he shepherded to Broadway this far have earned 62 total Tony Award nominations
Wow.
and 14 wins.
Wow.
End quote. So musical comedy, you're creating a style of musical comedy that the current generation is now going to reflect back on for years.
Wow.
But yet the prom has a very serious meaning, and it's got the people go back and forth between laughing and crying, and then laughing again, and then crying because they're
that's what it should be, if you
Right.
ask me. That it should be hysterically funny and moving at the same time. That's what I think makes it so wonderful.
Well, is that how you approach everything that you've done? Like,
I think so. I mean, I think that people crying is an extra bonus, but I think that you still you still seek being able to move people
mhm.
in any story, whether you move them through laughter, but you also move them emotionally. And that's always the goal. Sometimes it's successful and sometimes it's not. But I think I usually go with that in mind. Like how I think that when something's going to have to sing, that there's going to be places where you hope people are affected emotionally, just from the sheer nature of singing.
Yeah, the music brings people together in general, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, or you feel differently, that dancing is like an extra layer on top of that.
I think so, but it also has to serve the story.
Oh, for the show, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
but it is an
course.
extra layer for sure.
Yeah, and well, okay, so like Spamalot, Book of Mormon, Spamalot, of course, working with the Pythons, Eric Idle, of course, one of my personal heroes, and then Trey Parker and Matt Stone. Somehow they're my heroes too. I just love those guys. So neither of those shows are out to make you cry, but they make you laugh your ass off.
Right. But Book of Mormon is moving too.
Oh, it's totally
it really is. Yeah.
I mean, so how do you decide what you want to be connected to? And how do you decide what to work on? I mean, like, I just read your bio. Like, you have, or what the quote said, the shows have 62 Tony Award nominations. You probably have the pick of the litter now of what to work on next.
Yeah, I just pick what I feel like is a story that I would like to tell, basically, and something that, or if I'm drawn to the music and I really love the music, I think, oh, that's great. I know how I would want to do that, or I know how I would work with that, or I like these people that are working on the show, or that have written the show, or want to write the show, and I think that we would have a fun time doing it.
What kind of story are you drawn to the most?
Probably that has to do with underdogs. I think that's the main thing. And also just something that makes me laugh, or that the concept of it, the idea of it, and the possibilities of the story will be very funny.
So working with Trey Parker, not coming from a traditional theater background, although he loves
musical theater, and that's where we totally cut together.
Yeah, was it a different experience working with him than your standard kind of Broadway creative?
Well, I just don't think anybody is standard, really.
Really?
Yeah, I loved working with him, and I loved working with Matt, and I loved working with Bobby, and we had a really great time together, and we all knew how to do it together. It was really a great experience.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
What was your first reaction when you were approached were you approached to do it, or how did you get connected?
I was approached to do it, and pretty late in the game too. It was like, I was offered the job 3 weeks before the lab was going to start.
No kidding.
They'd already done a lot of work on it, before then. They'd done labs and stuff like that, and they wanted some fresh eyes, and I was able to be that. And yeah, it was great, but it was fast and furious. We did a 6-week lab, and I found out I was going to be staging and choreographing it 3 weeks before we started rehearsals.
So you just didn't sleep for 3 weeks, basically?
Oh no, I was in tech for another show. I was working on the show in San Diego, so it was a little crazy.
Wow, that's ridiculous. I would have loved to have watched that process.
I loved it.
Yeah,
absolutely loved it.
And then going back a little bit for Spamalot too, was how did you get connected to Spamalot? And of course, I'm sure you knew of Monty Python.
Oh, and I loved Holy Grail growing up. Absolutely loved it. And I just got a call out of the blue from someone saying Mike Nichols would like to meet with you about choreographing the show. And I was like, holy crap. And then I heard what it was, and I heard it was Holy Grail. I was like, that would be amazing. And I met with Mike, and he didn't know me at all.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't know my work at all. I didn't really have work for anyone to know. And we talked for an hour, and then at the end of the hour, he just said, well, you want the job? And I said, well, yeah. And then, cut to me in a cab crying all the way back to my apartment because I just could not believe my luck.
Wow. Yeah, that is incredible. So many people on this podcast have their crying moments. When they got the call. I think it was Joe Carroll told me when he got the call that he's going to make his Broadway debut. He had just gone through security at I think Newark and got to the other side of the security line and just broke down ugly crying. Yeah, it's fun. But I'm going to go back to you for a second. You originally were coming to New York. You were going to be an actor. You wanted to be an actor, and you were acting. You were in Broadway cast, the original Broadway cast, and ensembles and whatnot. And then, where did the transition happen into the choreography and the directing?
Well, I mean, I always knew I wanted to choreograph before I did Broadway shows. I just sort of stuck. So I choreographed like non-equity companies of stuff and like regional theaters and summer stock and that kind of thing. But then I decided I needed to not keep traveling and I needed to focus on performing. So that's when I got Crazy for You, and that's when I did the other shows. But every one of them, except for Scarlet Pimpernel, was an original Broadway company. So I got to see how they were put together, and I was fascinated by it. And I knew it was something I would love doing, and I would, just feel like I was in my skin if I was doing it. And that's kind of how it happened, really.
And when you started doing it, was it like what I'm trying to say? Yeah, you just felt more at home. You felt more.
Absolutely. It was. I felt more comfortable and more in my body and in my head and confident than I had ever as a performer.
I think that's beautiful, and I think that's why a lot of people are drawn to performing and to the arts and whatnot. It's a form of expression.
I was so glad to not be performing anymore. I really was. I was so happy to sort of be the papa and not the baby anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, you do a lot of work, and then opening night comes, and you take a bow with the cast, and then you're done.
You're not done. You're not done. Oh my gosh. It keeps going and going and going, hopefully. But yeah, but there's still a lot of work. It's not as concentrated, but there are many, many emails for every company that keep going on and on.
Well, can you tell me like what's going on with the prom? I mean, other than the Tony, like the build up to the Tony Awards now, which I'm sure there's a lot going on.
Well, now is sort of the golden time. I mean, you just opened and you get to, do the Tonys, and everyone's still really excited. And, and then what happens is, if you're lucky enough for a show to run for a long time, then you go 6 months later and you see that everyone is like, over the top and not connecting to the material anymore. And then you have to like have a rehearsal and, you have to keep on it and you have to keep on the maintenance because things change and people get used to something and an actor will push it further or just get away from the original intention and not even realize they're doing it. It's just the nature of being a human being.
Right. So Aladdin, Book of Mormon, Mean Girls, and now the Prom.
Yes.
You have 4 shows.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Running on Broadway right now.
Yeah.
So I got a couple questions around all that. Do you Aladdin's been running for over 10 years, right?
Oh no, Aladdin's just had its 5th anniversary.
Fifth. Yeah, that's what it was. I knew it was an anniversary. So do you go back still to Aladdin and do check-ins?
I do, yeah.
Wow. And what's like the weirdest thing you've seen someone like, what the hell are they doing? Get back up. Yeah.
Well, that's a common occurrence in all the shows. And when something's been running for a long time, it's hard. Or when there's new people in the show that don't get to hear the original creative team talk about the show or know what they went through trying to create it, or they haven't, heard Tina Fey talk about what she thought about behind, what's behind that scene. And so it's different because the people that joins a company and 4 years later don't get the history of it. And they don't know exactly what's behind it. And it's morphed. What they're being told has morphed. And that's just natural.
It's a game of telephone, essentially.
It is a little bit like a game of telephone, yeah.
Because when the director leaves, the choreographer leaves, which in your shows happen to be you in both cases most of the time. like it goes to the dance captain to maintain the dance and the stage manager to maintain the blocking.
Right. And these days it's not all on the stage manager anymore. It used to be that was the person that took care of all the acting. And now there's associate directors that take care of a lot of that, which is great.
Are they there nightly, or do they come back there?
It just depends. Pretty much. I would say most of them are there like, 3 or 4 nights.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
That's cool. And then
they run understudy rehearsals,
Yeah.
and they're there for putting in new people and all of that.
yeah, I knew that obviously put-ins and
Yeah.
swings, swing rehearsals and all that.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. But going back to what I said about having 4 shows concurrently running on Broadway, you're smiling at me right now. My gosh, did you ever see this coming? Like when you were just a little kid or an 8th grader?
No, or a 40-year-old. I never would have imagined that that this would happen, and I would have 4 shows running on Broadway.
Yeah, you worked with Eric Idle and worked with Matt Stone, Trey Parker, Tina Fey. And
Yeah.
like even Jack Vertel is a legend in the theater industry himself, right? Like you work with such amazing people, and now you are up there. Right? Like, do you realize this? Or do you have any sort of like imposter syndrome?
No, I don't have imposter syndrome because, like I said, I feel like I'm so in my skin as a director. But, it's weird that this is my life. I pinch myself almost every day. I really do. I have moments where I go like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I get to do this. Or I can't believe I'm going to work now. Or I'm talking about, my accomplishments. It's wild. It still is wild.
Yeah. Well, I read off your bio, and I was sitting there. I was like adding. I literally like triple counted all the nominations and everything, and I was like, God, there's just so many, and that was only some of the biggest ones. Like there's just countless others, and you've got to be. I mean, thank you again for being here because I know your schedule.
No, it's my pleasure. My pleasure.
But you've got to be going all over the place to talk about this and accept that award and all sorts of things. Like, do you take time off? I
do take time off for sure. I have to. Like every time a show opens, I'm on a plane. I've got to just decompress. Decompose. I almost said decompose. No, I have to decompress after putting on a new show. It actually after a show opens, I get really sad.
Really?
Yes, because it's sort of like you've given birth to a child, and it's something that you've been working on for 5 to 7 years, and to just be done with that process, which is actually my favorite part. You really go through withdrawal, and it's sort of like you're the person that everybody loves in rehearsal, and then you're 6 months later, you're the person that's telling everyone they're not as good as they used to be. And so you end up, it's a very weird feeling. It will never be the same as those weeks of creating altogether.
Wow. I mean, so I don't know if you remember this. You gave me my first professional role.
I did?
In 2004. Yeah, in My Fair Lady at North Carolina Theater.
Oh my gosh. So I gave so many people those jobs. I mean, everyone keeps telling me that. There was someone else that said I was in that. Oh my God, it cracks me up.
That was fun with Wally. Wally was artistic director at the time.
Yeah. That's hysterical.
Oh gosh, I just totally forgot why I brought that up. Oh, because I've worked with you. So I've seen your work ethic. And I've seen, like, as my first professional gig, like, that was regional theater. We had 13 days of rehearsal. And I was just like, 4th ensemble member from the left.
That's so funny.
But, I sailed flowers with me Cockney accent.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, it was horrible. And the show wasn't horrible. I was horrible. But I have read so many things about you now. And now I've personally worked with you, and I know the way that you interact with your casts is incredibly unique. And
cool.
Have you heard this before?
No, keep going.
Because it's especially like with the ensemble and the dancers, if it's a heavy dance thing, that because you've been there, you've been on the other side, you've been in the ensemble, you've been in being told what to do from a choreographer, and I feel like you've treated everybody on an equal plane. Everyone's got equal intelligence and equal importance, no matter how big the role.
Right. Well, I really do like to work energetically, and I think that you can't underestimate the energy of a show.
Mhm.
And the ensemble brings so much to that. You can't discount that. They're not just like backups doing stuff behind the principals. Their energy is so important, and it's so important in the storytelling.
Mhm.
And it's not just about, oh, we're going to do a dance break. It has to be part of the story, and everyone has to be involved in that. If you have a couple of chorus people that think that they're not important, and they bring that attitude to it and that energy to it, your eye goes to them
Mhm.
in a terrible way. You just go, because they're not participating.
Yeah.
They're not part of it. And I think that it's really important to encourage everyone who's in the ensemble to participate. I mean, it is their job, by the way.
They're getting paid to do
they are
this.
getting paid to do it. And they said it was their lifelong dream, but I don't understand why they're marking.
Yeah. No, I really enjoy it. And it shows, like, especially with the prom. I was actually, before you walked in, I was watching a video of the finale being performed on the Thanksgiving Day parade. And God, the energy coming out of all these kids. And I say, I'm 38. I can call them kids. And energy coming out of them. But even the principals, everybody dances their ass off.
Right.
And it's absolutely
They
incredible.
do.
Yeah.
They do. And it's very funny because, you'll hear younger actors complain about this and that. And, oh gosh, the shoes are hurting me and the heel, I can't dance in a heel. And a lot of that is valid for sure. However, Beth Level is wearing heels and being turned in circles around on a platform and belting her guts out.
Yep.
And she's doing it just fine.
And Angie Schwarr wearing
And
her own
Angie Schwarr.
5-inch heels.
Yeah, exactly.
doing bottom
Exactly.
to heaven and back. Yeah, geez, those people are incredible. But yeah, Brooks, Chris, Angie, and Beth. That's like a dream team of comedy leads right there. Like, how did you put them together?
It really is. We just started thinking about who would be right for it. And Angie, basically, we wrote for Angie because she's playing a chorus girl named Angie, who is like an older chorus girl, and Angie is an older chorus girl.
Yeah.
And when we first did it, and I told Angie we were writing a role for her based on her, she said, well, please do it soon so that I don't have to read somewhere they're looking for a young Angie Schwarr type. She said, that would be so sad. And, Beth and Brooks are just incredible. And I actually didn't know Brooks before the first reading of the show. I knew I liked him, and I knew it's one of those things. Every person that I know and love was like, you have not worked with Brooks yet? You will love him. You have to work with him. He's fantastic. And everyone just kept saying that. And so I thought, great, we're doing a reading. Well, let's see. And there was no question in our minds that he had to do the role.
Mm-hmm.
And then Chris Sieber he's so fantastic. And he did Spamalot originally and was just so good in it. And he also did the London Company as well.
Yeah.
So it's great. And Beth, I've just known forever.
Yeah.
Since the North Carolina Theater, that's when I first worked with Beth.
Right.
We did Showboat together.
Yeah.
I was Lauren Kennedy's dance partner.
Oh, Lauren Kennedy.
Yeah.
The Kennedy Center. Oh, that brings back so many memories. Jeez. Beth's from Raleigh. Yeah. So that, gosh, she didn't even start performing till college, I believe. But God, anyway, that's episode 9 of this podcast. Go back and listen to Beth Level. I was going to say, oh yeah. So you call them like your theater family. You have grown every production. I mean, when you do a production, it's kind of like you put trial by fire, and you have these bonds with people that like you're spending multiple long 12-hour days with them. And
sometimes years.
And sometimes years. Yeah. if the productions keep on going, and you're sometimes literally like backstage getting naked together, quick changes, and you get to know each other so well, and you're growing this family. But and so in the Prom, your 4 main characters there are, I mean, do you consider them family? Like, they have stuck with this from 7 years ago until now for a reason.
Yeah, they are. It's it's a special one. It really is. And they're a special group. And also the way that the 4 of them have, opened their arms to the kids, and also the way the kids have watched are principals. And I have to say, it's more than just the four of them because it's like because they have the flashier roles, they get all the attention in that way. But, Michael Potts is a huge part of the show.
Yeah.
And Courtney Collins is a huge part of the show. And Josh Lehman. And it's really something else. And they are all such good role models to the kids that are doing this for the first time. And they get to do it in a show that has such an amazing message and is so much fun to do. And, they're at the, they're at the Longacre, and it is the tiniest theater backstage, and everyone is so happy, or at least that's what they act like when I'm there. But it's a happy building. It really is.
Yeah, everyone I've talked to from the production, just like they love it. They feel good. And then on the flip side, the audience. I want to talk about the audience reactions.
Yeah.
Is when I interviewed Josh for this podcast, he was saying that like there was a guy, probably late teens or early 20s, he was a bigger guy, and he said that for the first time ever, I'm seeing myself represented on stage.
That's
and
awesome.
By the way, I'm bisexual, and this is the first time I've ever said that. And then he just broke down crying.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
And do you hear these stories? Does it get back
I do.
to you?
It's usually when I'm in intermission of the show, any show that I've done, I usually go backstage, but sometimes I don't. And when I don't, at the prom, I get so many people coming up to me and just saying, "Thank you so much for this. You gave me so much strength. I'm about to come out to my dad as being a lesbian, or I'm gonna, and you keep hearing those stories, and it's that part of it makes me feel so good and so like I'm helping people. I want to help people with laughter, but which I know we all do,
Mhm.
but it's pretty amazing, and it's pretty wonderful.
Yeah, I guess so. People recognize you in the audience, and they're like,
Oh yeah, they do.
That guy."
That's the part that pinches me, because I just never think that anyone would know who I am. I mean, I really do. I don't ever think that. And lately, I've been recognized more and more, but I really never think that.
Yeah, well,
Because I'm behind the scenes too, and people don't really recognize Broadway directors, do they?
you yes. I mean, I keep seeing you on the Tonys every year. Like, you're recognized. Oh yeah, I worked with that guy.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So how did you approach casting the roles of Caitlin and Izzy and then Josh's role?
Well, I mean, we'll see what you can say or not say. But well, the funny thing is those two roles, because I didn't know very many younger people. Beth Knox from Telsey brought people in, and Caitlin originally came in for Alyssa.
No kidding.
And yeah, she started singing. I thought, this is not Alyssa. This is Emma. In fact, this is Emma. And we all agreed. We knew that it was going to be her, and it was from the beginning. And she ended up doing everything. Izzy was in the ensemble in Atlanta.
No kidding.
She was one of the dancers in Atlanta. And then we ended up replacing the girl that played the role there. And not because she wasn't good. She was incredible. But we just decided we needed to go a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And I just decided, well, actually what had happened is I loved Izzy in the ensemble of Prom in Atlanta so much. And then I asked her if she wanted to tour with Aladdin, thinking she was going to be in the ensemble and covering Jasmine.
Mm-hmm.
And then she auditioned, and I just was like, she's going to be Jasmine. And she was. She was the Jasmine in the first national tour of Aladdin.
Nice.
And then when this happened and we ended up needing someone else to play Alyssa, I just said it has to be Izzy. And that's how it happened.
Wow.
She didn't even have to audition. We were just like, it's her.
And Josh.
So Josh ended up taking over the role in Atlanta in an emergency. And then we just had him still play the role, just kept him in the role.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's so funny.
He's so funny, and he's so lovely, and he's such a good human being.
Yeah, I enjoy everything he does. But the show itself, he's very outspoken now about gay history and LGBTQ activity and whatnot. And in this show, The Prom, it tackles so much. You've got bullying in social media and celebrity activism, and then queer rights in schools. And gosh, I'm still so impressed with how you handled all of this, wrote this story, and then still made it hilariously funny.
Yeah, well, the thing that Bob and I did Drowsy Chaperone together, and one of his passions is writing satire, and we're satirizing a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
and that's what makes it so enjoyable. And that's Matt and Trey's forte too, is satire, and I love it. and I think that the show is so funny because it doesn't take itself too seriously, even though it's about a serious issue.
Mm-hmm.
And then the heart comes through because you're actually not preaching to people. You're not, giving them a lecture. You're telling the story through the eyes of two different sides and two different viewpoints of people.
And I guess how has the show changed you at all in any particular way, or like through the whole process? Do you look at things in a different way than you did before?
Yeah, I think that for me, the fact that we're able to do a show that changes people's lives, and that sounds trite when I say it, but honestly, this one literally does. From the people's stories, it feels like it's helping people, and it's giving people strength, and it's helping people become who they are, and lets them know it's okay. And also, hopefully helps people that are adults, the parents who have gay children. Hopefully it's helping them open their eyes to things too. And we have found that too. A lot of adults and parents saying, thank you, this has been fantastic for me. My daughter was gay and I didn't want her in the house. And we've come to terms, but this show just, confirms how important it is. And, I really, it's a wonderful thing.
Wow. And during the writing process, going along those lines, during the writing process, obviously our presidential administration changed.
Right.
Did that affect anything that was happening at the time with the writing or the show?
It did. I mean, it certainly did. It's funny because when we first wrote or started writing the show, it was very relevant. I'm sorry. It's been the longest day. Relevant. This is a very relevant show, you guys.
I was like, that's a new word. Okay, I'll go with that.
It was real. When we first started writing it, it was really relevant. And then it wasn't. And then we were into we were in the Obama administration. And then people said, oh, the story is like, it seems dated. And then it was relevant again. And then it sort of wasn't. And then now it is more than ever. I mean, I am very happy that it took so long to do this because now is the right time for it. It definitely is. It feels it completely.
So I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about some of your other past work. Tuck Everlasting lasted for a month.
I know.
On Broadway. So you, obviously, great success does not come without a little bit of struggle. Does that, what happened there? Like, can you talk about that?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was a beautiful story. It didn't catch on. It didn't catch on, and it meant a lot to all of us. And it was such a beautiful message, and it was such a beautiful book. And that was it. We were pretty heartbroken. Again, that was another show where everyone stuck with that show for a long time because they believed in it. And I have to say the ballet at the end of that show was one of the things I'm most proud of that I've ever done.
Wow. So is the writing on the wall in that sort of scenario where like you're building up to opening and like previews don't go well? Or
yeah, I think so. Again, I feel like I'm pretty intuitive energetically, and most of the shows I've worked on have a buzz in the audience during previews. Mm-hmm. You can just feel it. I walk out from the backstage area and I walk into the house. I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's electric. That never happened with Tuck. I would walk out of the backstage area. I would come into the house. And I'd be like, well, this is weird. It's like people weren't talking. It was just it was a weird energy. And it just didn't feel like people were excited about seeing it or wanted to be there, or if they all got like half price tickets or something. It was it really was an odd thing, and I know lots of people that were really moved by it and other people that could just care less.
Right.
So it is hard because we worked on Tuck for a really long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you take that personally when that kind of scenario happens? Or is it just part of the business?
I take lots of things personally. I don't think you can take it personally. I mean, of course you can take it personally, but I think sometimes it's just the zeitgeist, what's going to hit and what isn't, and when it's time for something or not,
Mhm.
or the way it's being, marketed or what. Who knows? Who knows if it's because so many people love that book, and it was such a part, and it was required reading, and it was and people really loved it, and it spoke to so many people. So it was very odd that it didn't catch on.
Yeah. No, I
To me,
I loved the book. It was one of my favorite books that I read when I was a child. Yeah. So I was very excited to see it. But I mean, yeah, if I may say, I saw it and I was like, oh, yeah, it's something about it just wasn't right at the time.
yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've also directed and choreographed the West End production of Dreamgirls,
Yes.
which I saw.
You did?
When I was in London 2 years ago, I believe. Yeah, I saw it. I loved it. Loved the production.
Thank you. I love it too.
Yeah. Is that the only time you've worked in the West End?
No. I mean, it was the first time I originated something in the West End.
Mhm.
But Aladdin is still there, and Book of Mormon is still there, and Spamalot was there, and Drowsy was there. So
Oh, yeah. So I guess, again, you said it, they continue on.
yeah.
So you go over there and you have to go through the process of, I guess it's a little easier because it's already like the script is locked for the most part. But yeah, you have to go through the casting process and
Yeah,
finding
no,
everyone.
it's a lot. Yeah,
Wow, that's
but
a lot of fun.
Dreamgirls was so special to me.
Yeah, that was great.
Absolutely.
Are there any plans to bring it here?
I hope so. We talk about it. We hope it's happening. So we'll see.
Maybe we should talk to Dory, see if
Oh
she
my
wants to bring it over.
gosh, yeah.
Dory and Jack, you hear that? Bring over Dreamgirls. I'd watch that shit. That's so good. But when you're over there, do you find that the cultural zeitgeist, or I guess the focus towards theater, musical theater, is a little bit different? Because I have a friend of mine she's British, she lives in London, and she's like, musical theater, but plays. That's what I want to go see.
Right. I think it's more important to them there than
Yeah.
musicals. Yeah, I do. I love working over there, and I love the people I've worked with. But I think that musicals aren't considered as high up on like the food chain of theater,
Right.
So
Not like it is here.
Not like it is here.
Yeah, it's interesting because like here, like plays in New York. I mean, even like your big name plays, they only run for a couple months in most cases.
yeah.
It's interesting. Just I go over there and I was like, well, every time I go over there, I'm like, can we go see a show? And she's like, really? Like a musical? I was like, oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I want to go see Dreamgirls.
Oh, I love it.
So
I loved
good.
it. So much fun to work on. It's my favorite show.
I want to ask you too. You've got a credit as the dance choreographer on the Trolls movie
Yes.
with Anna Kendrick and Justin Timberlake.
Yes.
Of course, that movie.
Although I've never met them.
Yeah, right. But it's an animated movie.
Yeah, they hired me to sort of like come up with ideas and choreography for some of the musical numbers. A lot of them never made it in the movie.
Really?
I mean, the numbers themselves didn't make it in the movie. So, but it was fun.
Did they do
Really fun.
Did they do motion capture for that? How do you?
No,
how do you-
basically we just talked about them, and then I would just get in my dance studio with some dancers, and we do pre-production, and we videotape everything for them.
and you wear your big hair wig.
We did
like a
have some
troll?
big hair wigs,
Did you
actually.
really?
Yeah, but it was actually a little distracting, but we did do that.
And then, of course, you worked on Smash, which is where you met Angie Schwartz, right? You met her.
No,
Yeah.
I knew Angie from Minsky's when we did Minsky's in LA.
Oh yeah.
And then Angie did Something Rotten as well.
Right. So yeah. So you directed, right? You directed
Yeah.
Smash. Yeah.
One of them.
Yeah.
one episode.
And so, do you want to go back to doing more TV like that? Or,
Oh, I would love it.
Yeah?
I had a great time working on it. I really did.
Well, tell your agent. Get you
Exactly.
some more
Exactly.
TV work. Yeah. And then I am most impressed, I think, with the VO work on South Park because Matt and Trey don't let anybody do VO.
Oh my
Like
God,
they do it all
was-
themselves.
It was really fun. I was just going there to say, oh, no, I know. I was going there to audition someone because we were in LA and there was someone who wanted to audition and we did. And I was with Anne and then we walked downstairs and I was talking to Trey and he said, do you want to do a voice? I said, yeah. Are you kidding me? Yes, I do. So I said, all right, come on. And we just like walked into there and he like handed me the script and told me how to do it. I was like, I love it. Oh yeah, direct me. Works for me. And it was so much fun. And I went back the next week because it was a two-parter and I did more lines. It was really fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. I know they're like so famously like actors are stupid. So that's why they do all the voices themselves, which it works. It's their shtick. But that's like,
so good.
that's one of my
So funny.
all-time favorite goals is to be a voice on South Park. Because I know
it was really cool.
impossible.
That was a pinch me for sure.
Wow.
And then when I was done doing the voices, Anne said, okay, I need you to fill this out. I was like, what, I get paid to do that too? Really?
Wow. Oh yeah, that's crazy. We'll wrap up here in a second, but before we wrap up, can you give us any hints about what you're working on next? Anything fun?
Yes. I'm doing a new musical version of Some Like It Hot, which we've been working on. Mark Shaman and Scott Whitman are doing the score, and Matthew Lopez is writing the book.
Nice.
And we're sort of done with Act 1 and into Act 2 now.
Wow. Do you get writing credit for that stuff too? Like when you're
I help them. I help shepherd it.
Yeah.
But
they're the ones putting the words on the paper. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay. And how many projects do you normally juggle at once?
It depends. It's funny. Right now I'm not juggling too much, which is great. But
you do have 4 shows on Broadway.
I know it's true, but as far as new stuff goes, it's because it takes so long. You never know how they're going to line up. A lot of the shows that I've just sort of ended doing I had already said yes to when I had done Mormon. So that rash of things is sort of now coming to an end, and it's time for like a new group of stuff.
Yeah. So, but in a perfect world, do you like to have 10? Do you like to have 5?
I would say 5 is good.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. That's pretty amazing too, by the way.
Yeah.
But no, I would say that's pretty good because you never know what's going to fall apart. You never know what will end up happening. You never know anything.
Yeah, I think it's phenomenal because I feel like it all sort of cycles back, and everyone's got their lives that they have to deal with.
The timing of things never works out as you think it's going to.
And then, especially for Broadway, you have to wait on a theater.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
Oh, that actually reminds me. I know we said we'll wrap up, but
that's okay.
Like for shows when you do the out of town tryouts, do you know at the out of town that you're going to come back and have a theater?
Not always. Not usually. When we did Spamalot, we knew. When we did Drowsy, we did not know.
Really?
When we did Mean Girls, we knew. I think if you go out of town regionally, you don't usually know. Like when we went to the Alliance with Tuck and we went to the Alliance with Prom, we didn't know that we were going to get a theater. Or that it was going to be 2 years later.
How long between Alliance and Nederlander?
For
the Prom.
Longacre.
Yeah. Longacre.
2 years?
Was it 2 years?
Yeah, I think so.
Huh. I thought it was a lot. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, 2 years.
So you're just waiting in a theater.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, the process of Broadway, so complicated. All right, so now we will really wrap up. There are 3 questions I ask everybody to wrap up.
Okay.
First of all, very simply, what motivates you?
Passion for theater. Really? It motivates me for theater or life?
Just like, what motivates you? Why do you get
I
up
like
in the
to
morning?
work. I do. I like to work. I like to create and I like to work. And that's my happy place for sure.
And change lives, I will add. Yes. And okay, so next question. What advice would you give to your younger self and younger people listening now, starting out down a similar path?
Oh, wow. I think it's going to be okay. That's what I would tell him.
In what respect?
Because he didn't fit in. He didn't fit in any way. I was bullied as a kid, and it wasn't really called bullying, but I was bullied.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Just hang in there.
Hang in there. Exactly.
So now the final question. This is the hardest one. If you could only see one show for the rest of your life.
Dreamgirls.
But you can see it as many times as you
Dreamgirls.
want. Dreamgirls?
You don't have to finish you do not even have to finish it. Dreamgirls.
Yeah. Oh, God, I love that show. It was
Me too.
Very, very good show. So I couldn't find you on social media.
I am not on any social media.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just plug theprommusical.com, playing at the Longacre Theater right now. Buy your tickets. Gosh, it is such a heartwarming show. I absolutely love it. And I laugh my ass off every time I see it. It's incredible.
Thank you.
You can get more of me in the Theater Podcast via thetheaterpodcast.com. Of course, add /Patreon to the end of that, and you can support the podcast You can get more on social media, theater_podcast on Instagram and Twitter, facebook.com/official theater podcast. This is produced by Jillian Hockman, music by Jukebox The Ghost. My gosh, Casey, this has been so much fun. Thank you for coming in.
My pleasure.
My
pleasure.
Take a deep breath, make the world a little colorful.